Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good day. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Community Ledger. Again, my name is Andrea Banu, and we are going to jump right in. You know, Sundays are the day. I call them Sunday Fun Day. This is the day we get to go in and see how these Democrats have been doing on the political stage, and the polls are in. It looks like they're not doing well amongst American voters. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Yes, again, thank you so much for joining me today. If you have not already, go ahead and push that subscribe button. And also, you know how much I love coffee. So if you'd like to support the channel, link in the description to go ahead and buy me a cup. And I'm going to drink every last drop. Okay, let me just get a sip. That is what you call love on a Sunday morning. But nonetheless, back to the topic at hand. The Democrats, they've been going hard about pushing against everything that Trump does. Jasmine Crockett, Hakeem Jeffries, AOC, they have been shouting at the rooftops about how horrible Trump and his administration is and how we need to be pushing back. However, it does not look like that's resonating with American voters. So I want to go ahead and jump right into this video so you can see the latest poll records.
Joining me now to take us through our new poll numbers is NBC News national correspondent Steve Kornacki. Steve, a lot of headlines in this poll.
Yeah, Chris, and you get to it. Let's just start with Trump himself, that 47% job approval rating. Two ways of looking at this. First of all, if you compare Trump to every recent president, this point after coming into office, Trump's number here is the lowest, significantly the lowest of any of his modern predecessors, except Donald Trump in his first term. He was at 40% at this point in 2017. So this for Trump is actually better at 47% than he's done. What that reflects is it's not that he's built a lot of new popularity since the election, but that coalition that elected him, you're not seeing that disappear from him, at least yet. And there's some things driving that. First of all, the mood of the country. This really jumped out. We ask folks, is it on the right direction or the wrong direction? That 44%, you say right direction, that's up since November. And if that doesn't seem like a lot, the last time it cracked 40%, you got to go back to 2012. The last time it actually hit 44 or higher, January of 2004. So a lot of this is Republicans, but independents, that number is also up since the election on the direction of the country. Also, just Trump and his.
And also, I want to pause it right there because remember last week, the Democrats were on the trail stating that Trump's numbers were declining. They're like, he's not doing as well as he should be. His numbers are declining. All lies, all lies. This right here proves that was not accurate.
Trump and his base, we monitor this. Among Republicans, look at this, basically 3 out of 4 Republicans say it's a very positive view they have of Trump, not just positive. Again, at this point in his first term, it was only 50. It's just the strengthening of that base, the tightness they feel in terms of their connection with him. And then there's the Trump agenda. There are some popular elements of it here. Handling of border security and the immigration issue. 55% approval. That goes beyond his base. You see right there. You hear about Doge there in the setup. And broadly speaking, the people do think this is a popular idea here. A good idea, 46%. Bad idea, 40. Look at it this way. When you ask folks, what should Doge be doing going forward? A third say much more. 28% say Doge is needed, just needs to slow the pace down. But that's 61% total who seem to say that Doge is basically a good thing, a necessary thing right now. Where it gets complicated for Trump, the man who's leading Doge, negative 51%.
Wow. Look at that. Look at that. People are not a fan of Elon. And I spoke about this early on in some of my other videos. You know, I was like, Trump has got to be very careful with regards to this relationship with Elon, because Elon is going to mess around and mess up his legacy. Elon, you know, he may be a great businessman. He may have some, you know, attributes that he can bring to this administration with regards to Doge and things of that nature. But what he does, in his personal life when he's not aligned with Trump is questionable. And so he's going to have to be very careful. Truth be told, my prediction is Elon's not going to be buddied up with Trump the entire term, because I think there's going to start to be a little bit of conflict there, just in regards to kind of, you've got two, alpha males. You've got two very wealthy men who are used to being in control and making decisions, and Trump is the president, no matter what Elon or what others may think. And so, they both have their own vision on what America should be, but Trump is really going to have to be careful with that relationship with Elon. And this proves that, because Elon's ratings amongst Americans is not very favorable.
Majority negative rating for Elon Musk right here. Also, federal workers, we just asked folks, do you have a positive, negative view? Much more positive than negative in terms of federal workers. And then for Trump, there is, we say, not slippage since the election, but the warning signs. And it's on broader areas of his leadership. Look at this. And all of these areas you see right here, Kristen, foreign policy, the Russia-Ukraine war, majority disapproval at this point for Trump.
And the economy is a red flag, because that's the lowest number we have seen on the economy in the history of our poll for President Trump.
That's right. In his first term, this was the exception. He had low numbers overall his first term, but not on the economy. But the economy and inflation this time, look at those numbers and you look at the mood on the economy. Only 18% of voters say it's excellent or good right now. Our pollsters looked at this right before the election. That number was 26% excellent, good before the election. So it has come down. And then you ask folks a little differently here. It's, what is Trump doing on inflation? His agenda, his approach. Are you satisfied with what he's trying to do? 43% say they're satisfied, majority not satisfied. And this is the real warning sign for the administration right now. Independents, basically 3 out of 4 not satisfied with the effort that's being put into the question of inflation right now. You look at things like this and you say, if it's politically bad news for Trump, it's probably good news for the Democrats. They do lead our generic congressional ballot by a point, but they're also facing a very unique challenge in our poll right here. The view voters have of each party, neither is good, but look at the numbers here for Democrats, 27%.
Let me go ahead. I'm going to blow that up because I really want y'all to see that. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
Positive, more than double, 55% negative. And we'll just put this on a graph for you in our poll here. This goes back a long ways, and you can see the trend line for both parties. This is what's happened to the Democrats since the election.
That is astonishing, Steve. That's an historic low, right?
That is, in more than 30 years of this poll, we've never seen either party hit a number this low in terms of negatives here. One thing to note on this for the Democrats, too, a lot of that negative rating, it's coming from Democrats themselves. And a lot of that is coming from Democrats who say the party is being too cooperative in their view with Donald Trump.
Interesting. A lot for both.
Now that is fascinating. That is fascinating. The lowest they have seen from either party in 30 years. And now he's saying the dissatisfaction is coming from Democrats. I will agree with that, because I know there are a lot of people who used to vote Democrat who have walked away from that particular party. However, I'm not sure if I agree with the fact that they're upset that they're not pushing back more in regards to Trump, the Trump administration. That right there is kind of scary, because it's like, listen, this man was elected. Okay, he won the popular vote and the electoral college. What is there to debate? When Biden won, we were told you just need to accept it. Everybody on Trump's side said, we're told you need to accept it. So now that Trump has been reelected, what is there to push against? What is there to fight against? Because he won the electoral college and he won the popular vote. So that means there is a Trump mandate. Everything that he stated he was going to do on the campaign trail, he is doing. And a lot of people are pleased with that. And it's showing in his approval rating. So for Democrats to now be upset that other Democratic leaders are not fighting against his agenda, to me is misplaced anger. But I also want to go ahead and show an interview with the mayor of Maryland, because he really hits the nail on the coffin in regards to where the Democrats are failing. Let's go ahead and watch.
I want to ask you about a speech you gave last night. You represented your party at the Gridiron Dinner, an annual gathering of journalists here, and you dedicated your remarks to federal workers. You said there's dignity in the work that they do. You also spoke about your party, though, and the struggles that it is having. You said Democrats used to be the cool ones. You joked about the advanced age of your party's leaders, saying their staff has to stand around with defibrillators. I know these are jokes, but you're acknowledging something here. Is the issue with your party age or a lack of vision?
That is another thing that I said in some of my older videos, is that the Democratic Party, you know, is too old. And this is not about ageism. This is not about people thinking that they can't do the job because they're, you know, up there in age. But at the same time, like I said, literally, it's just not a good look when you have your politicians being rolled into congressional meetings, like, and on and on oxygen. Like, why can you not retire? And like I said in some of the other videos, they're not retiring because being in Congress is a cash cow. Now that we have Doge, we know all of that extra money that they've been making since they've been sitting in those seats, and they're not trying to give that up overnight, right? So it's like, I will die in this position so that my family is taken care of, because they're making millions and millions upon millions of dollars being in those positions as senators and representatives and the likes. So it's more to it than just ageism. All of it has to change. You need to get some fresh blood in there, some young and fresh new ideas with regards to Congress as a whole. And then, you know, it's time to kind of cut off all of this wasteful spending and how compromised Congress has been with regards to making all this extra money. So he he is actually speaking to that as well.
A vision? And is the reset underway to fix those things?
I think we need to be very clear about who we're fighting for. And I think we need to be very clear about the vision that we are offering. You know, I think about what's happening, you know, in this moment, even the conversation around the continued resolution, where we all know that the consequences of a federal government shutdown would have been disastrous on the state of Maryland. That we would have not only seen our economy completely downturn into a recession, that we would have seen our nation's credit being downgraded, and along those lines, each and every one of us as states, our credit would have been downgraded as well, because the United States decided that it's now no longer paying its bills. And we would have seen thousands of federal workers unfairly now being laid off or furloughed. So we know the consequences. But one thing we did not do was offer an alternative. One thing we did not do was articulate the terms for the American people. Mm-hmm. And so I think when the American people, when they do not have an option, or they're not seeing people fighting on their behalf, then yes, there is going to be a measurement of frustration. So we've got to do everything in our power. I know in the state of Maryland, we are mobilizing to make sure we're protecting our federal workers, that we're streamlining them into not just private sector jobs, but also state jobs that are open and available, that we're making sure we're increasing our unemployment insurance. And we are doing things like lowering the price of prescription drugs, and we're doing things like increasing housing inventory, which is going to decrease the housing price. We are doing everything in our power to fight for the people. Mm-hmm. And I think it becomes incredibly important, because people are paying attention who their fighters are and who their fighters are not.
Well, there were voices within your party on Capitol Hill who offered alternatives. They just weren't listened to. Do you think there is just no leader
I don't see
in the party?
I don't see a difference. Mm. And frankly, I don't think the American people see a difference. If they are not hearing an alternative, if they're not hearing an alternative plan, if they're not hearing the plan to push back and fight back, if they're not seeing what we are doing in the streets and in the communities and in the neighborhoods to fight for their best interests, I think for the American people, they just look at it as theater. Mm-hmm. And that is the frustrating thing. The performative politics, people are done and they're exhausted by it. They just want to see results. And that's exactly what we're trying to provide here in the state of Maryland.
Amen, brother. That is exactly what the people are saying. Okay. The issue with the Democratic Party right now is that they are offering absolutely no solutions. Okay. And that is why Kamala lost, because the entire time she was on that campaign trail, Americans were talking about how much they were hurting, how much they were impacted by that border and these gas prices and these grocery prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Kamala completely, the Democratic Party completely ignored that. They're like, no, we're going to talk about what we want to talk about. And we want to talk about abortion. We want to talk about all these extra rights and all this other stuff. We don't care about what you care about. And that was the problem. That's why Trump won. Okay. Because you had a mass exodus of lifelong Democrats who felt unseen and unheard. And so now that Trump has been elected, they feel like, okay, we're going to devote all of our attention toward just hating Trump, this Trump derangement syndrome. That's not a solution. That's not a solution. How are you going to get people back in line to vote for Democratic representatives? And they have no solutions. They have no leaders. They have no policy. They have no game plan. Thus, they can't win no elections. And that's a problem for the Democratic Party. And so, this mayor of Maryland, I'm sorry, the governor of Maryland hit the nail on the head. He's like, listen, people are tired of all this back and forth rhetoric. This is theater to them. They're not fooled by all of this nonsense, because remember, while Trump was on the campaign trail, remember, he was a fascist. He was Hitler. And then as soon as he was elected, you see Obama sitting there kikiing with him like it's no problem. You see Biden, open the White House doors and give him a tour and prepare lunch like it's nothing. But wait a minute, this man was Hitler. So it was all propaganda. It was all nonsense. It was all theater. And now the American public know that. And so you're going to have to do a better job of serving their needs, and listening to them and actually getting down to the nitty gritty of what Americans want if the Democrats are ever going to have some sort of comeback. And it just seems like they just can't get it. Now, this gentleman here is the one, is the governor that Stephen A. Smith was bigging up. He was the one that he said he supports him wholeheartedly and would love to see him in a leadership role. Of course, I saw him while he was on the Kamala campaign, so I was giving him the side eye the whole time. But, now that we know Kamala hasn't won, he does seem to be talking a lot better. He's given a hell of a lot more talking points and speaking with some rationale, which the rest of the Democratic Party has not been doing thus far. So I'm gonna keep my eye on him, because he is definitely speaking with some common sense, which is definitely needed in this era, in this moment in time, and within the Democratic Party. But what say you? What is your opinion of these poll numbers in regards to the Democratic Party? I did a video on Jasmine Crockett about a week ago. And I got dragged in the comments. They went in on me. But I'm like, listen, the truth is the truth. This is my opinion, and I'm allowed to give it. And if I don't feel like she's doing us justice and serving a real purpose that is going to benefit the masses, I'm going to speak on it. And if you don't like it, you can just turn, okay? You can turn. It ain't that big of a deal. Take your like back, unsubscribe. No biggie. Life goes on. But nonetheless, the truth of the matter is other people are feeling the same way, because the polls don't lie. The numbers don't lie. People are saying, the mass majority of Americans are saying that the Democrats ain't showing us nothing. And this ain't going to work. And so, like I said, right now, you just have one party, and that's the Republican Party. And I don't personally think that's a good thing. I think we need options. Of course, I did vote for Trump because I most certainly was not going to vote for Kamala. However, I'm not sitting here signing up to be a Republican for the rest of my life. I'm not sitting here believing that Trump can do no wrong. I just wanted to see something different. I wanted to see something better. And what Democrats were talking about wasn't nothing that resonated with me. And so I'm sitting back and I'm watching, and I'm hoping for the best with regards to Trump. But at the same time, I still think that we need some more options. And maybe that won't be the Democratic Party. Maybe, a independent will come out and show us something new. I'm open to all of it. But at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. So what is your opinion? Please get into the comments and tell me how you feel about these Democrats or these Democrat supporters saying that, they're not pushing back enough against this Trump administration. Do you think that is a viable strategy in terms of gaining ground and support again? So again, if you have not already, please do share, like, and subscribe. And thank you so much for joining me again on the Community Ledger. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and watch the next video by clicking right here.